Okay. Haven't talked to Warren in a long, long time. Seems like ages, but when you were talking, I kept thinking of all the planned communities, Disneyland, Disney World, where they're doing, you go down there in Florida and there's building whole communities up that are trying to bring stuff in from different cities. It seems to be like all the other comments so far. This seems to be an uphill battle with all sorts of conflicting interests. I'm not quite sure, but do you see this starting off in an area like that and then sort of proving itself outward? Is there any way of starting up something? I mean, Disney World has a lot of internal transportations already. I mean, they move people around that place very well. There's when millions are showing up, and I don't know. Is that a model that can be used in some way?
Yes, actually, the Villages is the fastest growing city, or was in the U.S. I don't know whether it still is now, but given how many people I know that are moving to Florida, it probably is. One of the things we see is the challenges that seniors face, as I talked about. I think this would be a terrific marketing position for a new or a facility that's growing, that's trying to attract seniors or people with similar issues, and provide healthcare. We have a whole chapter on how this can assist health. So yes, I think it's a great model for a enterprise that's setting up an active adult or a senior facility. And imagine being able to say, we'll take care of delivering your meds exactly when you need them. We can deliver food and beverages whenever you want them, and we'll provide transportation for you. If you can't walk, we'll get you where you want to go. I think it's a huge competitive advantage.
And like Disney World down there does a lot of this underground. They move a lot of stuff already. Yeah, I mean, they just do. I mean, and there's still, for some reason, and I guess it's just because the infrastructure is so expensive. I mean, you talked about $1 million a mile, and then when we talked about the railroad tracks, they need to be upgraded. Well, nobody wants to spend the money. That it looks like that's an almost impossible. You kind of go, well, then you got to, I don't know. I don't want to be pessimistic, but it just seems like there's a big hump there.
Well, but that's why I think an enterprise like I don't know, around us, there are new senior facilities opening up. And both for active and for people that are, I'm not sure what the opposite of an active adult community is, or what you call it, but
nursing home.
They're popping up like crazy. And so I can see that as a competitive advantage. Then once the point you made, I think, is that once somebody starts doing that, then other people see the advantages, and there's an enormous potential for this of people wanting to move there. So if you've got a conventional facility or one with all these services, and by the way, it's cheaper because you need fewer people to staff to support it, and the staff jobs are actually better because you're not doing all the mundane stuff. You get to focus on the interesting things of solving people's real problems instead of delivering their food to them. And once that gets started, I think then the competitive pressures would force other people to do that. There's certainly a shortage of people to provide those kinds of staff positions. So being able to provide better services at lower costs seems like a no-brainer, but somebody's got to make that jump and do it. And that's a challenge, which is why we're talking to find people, I'm sure there are people out there that are making these kinds of decisions, and connecting with them is the key.
I guess that's the biggest part, because I have to say, I've been kind of thinking the same thing as Eric and Saul, and it's like, this is so big, it's so enormous. How, like we can't get rid of all the trains we have and build new trains and put in new tracks, and where are we going to get the money to do anything like this? And I guess you need the kind of the vision people, and you talk a lot, and then there's just baby steps that happen. Is that kind of how you see it happening?
Lots of possibilities. I think the way something like this is going to happen, well, back up for just a second. I mean, my passion is for very large systems. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to put forward a vision of how all of this stuff could work together. And then now we get to the next step, which is what we're talking about now, is okay, here's the whole picture. Now, how do we get started? So one thing I see is exactly what we were just talking about. You have a smallish community. I mean, it might be 1,000 people, but that builds the structure to make that happen. And one way I see that is focusing on people who have particular needs, whether they're seniors or have health issues. You could imagine a place that specialized in a particular kind of healthcare that needed transportation of the kidney dialysis machines or whatever, take it to you rather than you're having to go to it. One of the challenges on the shore was how do you, when you have something like Sandy, how do you evacuate in time? There aren't enough roads to get you out. So having a faster system, and I actually designed what a sustainable shore community might look like. If we wipe one out and somebody wants to build another one, that's a possibility. So basically you have to look for a problem area that has some containment and people can look at it and go in and build it. So people are redesigning cities around the world. So I can see this fitting in very nicely, being driven by COVID. I mean, it's a big driving force.
Okay, Roberta?
Yeah, we just were about to pass out here in Seattle a $30 billion over, God knows, 30 years transportation project. I guess you would call it light rail. It goes from SeaTac right now up to my neighborhood, which is about 7 miles north of Seattle. They're massive projects that are in the woodwork, and there's also lots of concepts of linear city development. I mean, that's been in the urban planning books for years, using the example of Salt Lake City and the environs going along the mountain range there. Yep. So the question is there any project out there, I mean, that you have run into? Have you done any research on urban, incipient urban transportation infrastructure that is looking into the next generation for that kind of expenditure and in a more reasonable fashion?
One of the people that we're just getting ready to reach out to is Richard Florida, who's a community expert, really, and is a consultant to a lot of places. So that's one of the things we're looking at doing, try to make that contact. But nice. Yeah, that's again part of the reason for having the book out in the first place, and then doing some publicity for it is to make that kind of contact.
How close to what you're thinking about is the Tesla truck that you mentioned? Is it a segmented truck that adds and subtracts items from it at this point? What makes you bring it to our attention?
If you think about the Tesla truck, it has the capability of pulling a trailer, okay? And so trailers exist. If you look at the truck, you don't need the cab because we're not going to have a person in there. It's going to be totally autonomous, which it already mostly is. So you cut off the top half, slip it under the trailer, and now I take that trailer and that's the whole vehicle. And now I just put inside of it whatever I want. and I have an autonomous bus, if you want to call it that. And it's already electric. It's has autonomous capabilities. So great price too.
This is really great. Thank you so much, Warren, for our Dr. Gifford, I should say, for share your
Warren's good.
Warren's good. After this, we've let you talk. We've had you talk for a long time. If there is any, there are any other people who are just dying to ask their question, raise your hand or hit chat. Otherwise, oh, there's more. Andrea, setting up a secondary communication system for the medical system. Oh, where'd it go? Where is Andrea? Regina, can you let Andrea speak?
Well, I'm reading it. Setting up a second. Oh,
okay. You can unmute, Andrea.
This is Andrea Harangozo, Pulmonary Critical Care. And as I'm listening to some of this conversation, I came in late, but one of the systems that are not sufficient in the world today is a secondary system for medical communication with at-risk patient populations. As Sandy came in, there were issues because we knew the towers would be going down, but there's no way for physicians and hospitals and patients at risk to be able to communicate. This group of people that I'm hearing right now would be the people that may have an ability to bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, one of the interesting aspects about this infrastructure is being able to provide the kind of communications bandwidth that we need. You know, we're having, in fact, our internet went out this morning. That I was worried about whether we were going to be able to do that.
And I was having trouble here.
So that's certainly an important aspect of having. One of the advantages of having these parallel cities is you build in redundancy. So if you have a failure of any kind in one place, you can just bypass around that. And because the system's autonomous, it just does that. You don't have to get stuck in lines and wonder what to do. David's reminding me of something in terms of transition. I didn't spend much time talking about the intentional communities. And the goal there is to match a bunch of people who have compatible interests and capabilities. So it's not just people who want to do the same thing. It's communities need somebody who's a starter, and they need somebody who's a organizer, and they need somebody, you know, et cetera. You need a whole set of skills. And so one of the ideas was you pick a place that's, you know, more or less the middle of nowhere, and form one of these communities. And one of the skills that you would look for is the ability to design and build all of these different autonomous systems. So you'd find a bunch of programmers and prototypers and so on, and their output, if you like, would be their own community, but then they would have the technologies to be able to sell to the rest of the world. So.
Thank you. We just got a comment, Richard Oppenheim. I hope I said your name right, Oppenheim. Wanted to just mention that another application which is needed now, capital letters, is to transport the Pfizer vaccine at -70 degrees Celsius to thousands of pharmacies while keeping it at that temperature. So your kind of vision could kind of create this, correct me if I'm wrong, would create the vehicle to make that happen, right?
Yes. Although there's now a competing vaccine that doesn't need the cold temperatures for, so I think Pfizer may have a problem.
We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. So we've been here. We've been keeping you for over an hour now, and I know you said that if people wanted to contact you, they could send you emails.
Warren S. Gifford at Gmail.
Warren S. Gifford at Gmail.
I'll put it in chat. So.
Okay, that'd be great. So he's putting it in the chat for everyone. So if you want to follow through. And David, thank you for coming up, coming on the meeting. He's the co-author of the book. Let's see for the name. Right there it is. Okay. So if there is no more questions, Driving Tomorrow, our roadmap to a sustainable transportation infrastructure and cities. Driving Tomorrow, our roadmap. So we all need to get this book. I actually saw it on Amazon today. You can get a Kindle version and you can get a hardback or softback. If this were in real life, we could bring it up to you and you could autograph it for us, and it would be, I guess it is more real life, but it would be so nice. I love having authors around.
I actually have a bunch of autographed copies.
You do? Okay.
Frustrating.
I guess I need to get with you after this meeting. All right, so thank you everyone for coming. This is Citizens for Informed Land Use. We hold these meetings every month on important issues. We're not having a meeting, however, next month in December because it's so busy. However, we are in the business right now of, we have a negotiating committee and we're setting up leadership for next year. So if anyone who's a CELU member wants to be on the leadership team, please let me know or Regina know. If you're not a CELU member, we hope you will consider joining us. We're on our website, we're on Facebook at CELU, Homedale CELU, and our website is CELU-Homedale, that's at Gmail.
Thanks to everybody. Thanks for setting this up. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you. Very exciting.
We really appreciate it. It was a pleasure. So good night, everybody.
Night.
Join CELU. Join CELU.